A good Wednesday morning to you. Roger Hill of Weathering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards weather forecaster. This weather video driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities, Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Looking at a broad area of the country, enjoying very tranquil weather conditions. A little bit of wind with the shortwave moving across northern Canada. Most of the action's north of the Canadian border. This is going to be taking a track off to the north of us. And we'll have just some very minor fringe effects, really not wind, but a little bit of sprinkles during Thursday night. That's going to be about the only interruption in what is otherwise a tremendous stretch of tranquil weather once again. Next chances for precipitation really not until we get into the early part of next week, namely more like Tuesday. And a couple days of channeling southerly winds are going to be about it. So no real impacts for utilities are expected. Looking at conditions actually pretty tranquil. Again, those channeling winds across the Champlain Valley Monday and Tuesday of next week with the approach of a cold front. Otherwise dry but good project weather to continue into Monday of next week. The one little caveat, again, that Thursday evening, tomorrow evening, where we could see some clouds and a few sprinkles right across the northern tier areas right near the Quebec border with just barely some fringe effects across those northern tier areas. Tropics are quiet, colder, possibly more active period emerging late next week, just beyond this period. Here's the 6-hourly panels of the European. We got the whole country to take a view, and you can see that shortwave trough up near west of Hudson Bay there, and each 6-hour panel shows it scooting along to the north of us. We develop a big ridge of higher pressure. There's very little action going on really down in the lower 48 United States. We see the emergence of a cold front finally that is going to take a track toward us. This is about 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday of next week. And then finally we get it in here. It looks like a little bit of shower activity. I'm going to carry this through the next 10 days just to give you an idea. So what you see now is this is cold enough for snow, and some moisture streaming in out of the Gulf of Mexico. And we'll track that in one more time and take a look at the evolution here. Again, this action is going to be for the early to mid part of next week, right here. And beyond that, cold enough to snow. I'm going to take you through the end of the 10 days here. And you can see that temperatures do get a lot colder in those blue dashed lines. That means it's cold enough to snow aloft. Not necessarily down to the valley floors, but it'll be a close call. Here's an Alberta Clipper system. This is valid the 28th, actually the evening of the 27th of next week. So you can see the potential for a little bit of snow in our higher terrain. Some pretty good thicknesses here that are crashing, and that means a lot colder air across a good portion of northern Canada. This pattern change shows up basically for the eastern half of Canada and a bit into the northeast United States. It isn't completely affecting all of the country, but our neck of the woods, yes. GFS ensemble centered on Burlington, Vermont. Look at that. Dry weather for a stretch of time that goes on into the early part of next week. And you notice a little couple of whiskers here. Some of the plumes are showing up as a little bit of snow. Again, that's that colder air working in behind that next cold front. So big weather changes just beyond the period here. So after having just 1/100 of an inch a couple days ago, now we're up to about 1.5 or a little greater than 1 inch anyway across Vermont. This again associated with that moisture that'll be streaming up the Appalachians from the Gulf of Mexico. Not until after Sunday night. This is really, we're talking Monday night, Tuesday into Wednesday, and this is valid through Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. A couple interesting things to look at here. Again, the GFS temperature ensemble centered on Burlington, Vermont. These are our temperatures, relatively mild for this time of year, running about 5 to 10 degrees above normal. And then we're seeing a little bit of a cool-off with that frontal system I talked about Thursday night indicated. And then we rebound in temperature. That's Saturday and then into Sunday and Monday and so forth. European model has these temperatures closer to 70, if not in the 70s. And beyond that, things become a little more unhooked. This is our next chance for precipitation, and you can see the plumes really come apart. So weather computer modeling world having a little more difficult time of it. Checking the top of Mount Mansfield. This is the time of year we start to do this. You notice that temperatures are above the 0 degrees centigrade Celsius line here. So all we have to worry about is when we go below that. That indicates a little bit of snow. This is just after the 26th. So the European and the GFS Ensemble models are in pretty good agreement with this as well. Okay, bringing it back a little bit closer in time here. This is for the next 5 days, the maximum temperatures, the high temperatures. Look at this, coast to coast, amazing. A little bit below normal in some parts of Northern California and neutral conditions out in the Pacific Northwest. But this is where our weather's going to be coming at us over the period, really beyond this period, spreading in mainly across Canada. But temperature is, again, very, very warm for this time of year, running about 12 to some cases maybe 13, 14 degrees above normal. So carrying this about 3 days later, check that out, 12 to 15 degrees above normal in the locale. Notice it gets some neutrals here, and again, some evidence of some influx of slightly colder air with a pattern change that is in the process of developing. In the tropics, zippity-doo-dah, nothing to see here. Yeah, there is the makings of a disturbance that's been sort of northeast of the Bahamas. This is Florida, that's Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and so forth. Vermont up here. So well off the eastern seaboard, no real issues. But the interesting thing is that this this disturbance cuts all the way across our very warm Atlantic waters. And where does it go? British Isles. And last but not least, we're watching the snow beginning to work in across portions of Siberia, mainly Eastern Asia, and what effects it's having. And it is filling in very nicely across Siberia, so the snow advancement index is definitely positive, and that would indicate a colder winter once the polar vortex weakens and whatnot, and perturbed by stratospheric warming events. That'll happen later on this winter, so nothing in the near term, but it's looking good for at least a shot of more normal winter here with more normal snow right here in the Northeast United States. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.